How's it going, guys? Welcome back. So, big news of the day. SEC Gary Gensler claims all of ETH falls under USA jurisdiction. That's based on how the Ian Bellina case worked out with Sparkster coin. At the end of the show, I also want to share with you guys a guest of Raoul Paul's Balagio Srinivinasan and his definition of network state and how I think it relates to crypto and NFTs. Max FOMO continues to build, and in order for us to build that FOMO, to accumulate that anxiety, we got to take a look at the Fear and Greed Index. This is the Fear and Greed Index on CNN Business. A little different gauge of stocks. So a little higher than our crypto Fear and Greed, which is at 23 versus 37. One interesting thing to note is where we're at right now. So as of today, we're at 23 here. So you can see we moved up here. But it's interesting to look at where euphoria happens versus max fear, right? And you can see a trend here on the upside. And based on the years of where halvings may have occurred, you do see an uptick in the middle of the year where they occurred and a move up. So leading up to the next halving, it's likely that we're looking like max fear 2018 towards the end of the year, middling here in September also, right about the same area. Moving into 2019, getting worse with moments. We had moments here. We saw a solid move up here and then returning to max fear. You want to pair this with what's going on with behavior on charts and also the macro, right? Macro news, get you a good readout on what how you're going to base your decisions on if and when you're trading. Elon Musk talking about when he got fined for his tweet on Tesla, 20 million, how it was worth it. This relates to the network agency that I'll be talking about at the end of the show and the power of NFTs and the possibility that they could have for connecting communities, connecting networks across the cloud. Attaching value to that could be very exponential. And you have platforms like Twitter, which are arguably outside the NFT ecosystem, what one might call Web 2-ish. It's a absolutely pretty free platform. However, it has the ability to branch close to 1 billion users instantly. That sort of network effect, coupled with the network effect that NFTs themselves have, provides an agency you're really not going to find elsewhere. All right. So before we get into that, please like, subscribe, leave your comments below, and we'll get to the charts. Looking at the Bitcoin charts. All right. So, had some strong moves down recently on the immediate short term after a mostly green day yesterday. However, looks like a little bit of a return to the market here and strong upside right now on the 5-minute. See 53%, pretty much identical to our wins and losses profitability. So good upside here. Seeing more blue wave on our directional movements versus the RSI, really coupling well. And what that would mean to us if we're just looking at the patterns, it would suggest that we're starting to standardize on the deviations. And I believe that if we look at synchronicity, it would be telling us that heavy buys versus heavy sells are being more spread out. So you see here, nice moving up, also on the even shorter term 3-minute chart. So we're going to obviously get a lot of short calls, quite possibly on our metrics leading up to this. However, I would take a look at how the volume is standardizing right now and check these spreads. So long term looks like, or midterm 4-hour, looks like we're weighing pretty even. However, losses on profitability are on the downside, 48%. So on the midterm at the 4-hour, if you consider that midterm, maybe our volume is not so widely spread, widely distributed, and frequency on large buys versus large sells is still weighted on the lower frequency on the bigger buys, bigger sells. And ETH So amid all the news with SEC, Gensler, and things like that, centralization aspect, we already got a good look at that, or you should have, with the Flashbot talk and maximum extraction value. I don't think that people are really getting into ETH, whether they know it or not, for the decentralization. It's rather the product and feasibility and the scalability of Ethereum. And by scalability, I don't mean like functional scalability. I mean how far-reaching the Ethereum protocol is. Most utility, most dApps in crypto are on Ethereum. So you could be looking at, if we get more downside on Ethereum, I think that's going to be extremely bullish. You are going to have to wait for that news to blow over with the Gensler thing. Although, I'd ask to read into it a little bit more. Gensler's, it seems like government's starting to troll now, and it isn't that what we want. We wanted Gov to get into crypto, right? Looks like they're embracing the community now, and a lot of people out there are getting waltered right now by Uncle Gary. So see here, 3 minute, very short term, a little bit over on the profitability on wins, 52% up, so, or 52%, so a little over on the winning side. Yeah, but more or less pretty even. Some short-term upside there projected, so quite possibly going to see some downturn after a couple of mini green candles. Posted this on Twitter, mentioned it yesterday too, but more or less building into this time frame on the Elliott side, so behavior is pretty readable still across all the crypto. And again, I think it's really important to be watching the DXY, seeing what the DXY is doing right now. But Sol and other layer ones, the narrative is really, really laying thick, really building up for other layer ones. And especially if they present the level of competition that Solana does to these major chains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, there could be some heavy upside, not just in the middle and short term, but long term, with the integration of Ethereum and the further development on Magic Eden on that part. And I'll show you a little bit of what I mean by that at the end. We'll take a look at the Magic Eden platform. But NFTs are going to be continuing to lend performance profitability to blockchains. And Solana taking on a lot of that NFT network, on social platforms and DeFi platforms, could be really lucrative for holders of SOL. Looking at DXY, overall, holding tight right now, but had a massive pump here, following up from carrying on from yesterday. So we're about $1 over from where we were yesterday at $1.09, $1.10 right now. And we're still getting heavily good read on the upside for the short term and the long term, on the month now for DXY. How does that look for Bitcoin? If this is a long-term read on the upside, heavy upside, most likely hard to lead this market, right? So unless some things sort of change in the immediate and midterm, not looking super hot for Bitcoin right now. All right. So pulled up the Injective chart here because I wanted to take a look really briefly, moving into the news. Coinbase made some recent additions, one of them being hbar, the other one being Injective Protocol to its exchange platform. Really good news, in my opinion. Injective provides synthetics and DeFi applications on synthetics, and it's cross-chain with Ethereum, Binance, and Cosmos. Lot going on with Cosmos lately with the Burn initiative, and that proclamation being passed. So yeah, a lot of hype on the effectiveness of that Cosmos burn. But if you look at Injective on itself, just added to Coinbase platform at this point in time, and a lot of judgment being clouded right now, 100 million total supply. If you look at the diluted max cap on Injective, only 40 million over the max cap. That's really giving you a good basis for, in my opinion, giving a good basis for quite possibly a pretty inviting entry there, especially when this is a derivatives and synthetics offering DeFi platform that's also cross-chain and cross-chain with Binance and Cosmos. So thought I'd be taking a look at Injective a little bit more often moving forward, but also good news for hbar too, continuing to make it on larger exchanges. Also, with the implications of SEC and the Ethereum Ian Belita case, Coinbase being one of the few crypto public exchanges, be interesting to see how Brian Armstrong backing the U.S. Treasury lawsuit, or against the lawsuit against the U.S. Treasury. Interesting to see what's behind those moves, because we've seen that BlackRock recently partnered with Coinbase Exchange itself. So, not sure if this is good or bad news for Harmony, but they got a recovery plan. This was posted yesterday, and so really what's going to happen here is that you can either buy and stake one token, the old one, the original one, for now the new asset R1, and you get rewards based on that, and based on the math, how they worked it out, that in about 3 years' time, you'll get enough on the stake return to trade your amount of one for R1, or R1 rather, for the amount of one at the equal value. Management fee on the pools could lead up to about 5%. We don't know if you need to couple that in with the validators commissions. Not sure how that's going to work on the community level. However, looking at the math, I think based on the amount of people that are staking versus people putting depegged assets into the pool, I think this 3-year period could look more like 5. Stephen Say is not really listed on backing this initiative. I did really like Harmony. I was once, holding, had a lot of Jewel on DeFi Kingdoms. Yeah, this is really unfortunate. Harmony and the Harmony One community and network and people in it, really excellent community there. People in Harmony were pretty excellent. Right now, you can stake your old one for voting rights. Quite possibly, depending on how the voting goes, people could be holding out for a different proposal. We'll see how it goes. Nasdaq. So Nasdaq is starting to look at offering clients on portfolios based in crypto. These financial institutions, these established financial branches inside traditional market, is seriously entering into crypto, at least as an asset offering right now. But when we see like CDFC and SEC fighting over jurisdiction on crypto, you got to be thinking that there's something to this, right? And there's a future to crypto. So the demand for digital assets is increasing, says Nasdaq, and they believe that North American markets are well positioned to really accelerate the broadening adoption of crypto if they get involved. And what that means is, portfolio pump. So that's what we're pro here. We're pro portfolio pump. We're pro crypto. I like the sound of that. We're gonna need compromise on regulation, right? It's not that we want consumer protection, or arguably, if you've been in this space with NFTs and crypto, probably dealt with it, right? Been dealing with it. So it's not like we need consumer protection, but what we don't need is suppressing the market. More suppressing the market, holding the market hostage with these Powell waiting on announcements and carrying traditional habits into the market, and this SEC claims back and forth, getting trolled. We'll take on some regulation and let this financial movement continue, and allow crypto to continue to integrate into society. That's a good compromise over the stranglehold that's been occurring lately, and arguably growing on the crypto market. Robinhood adding USDC, the stablecoin, to its platform. So now you'll be able to swap coins for USDC. Could be bullish for FTX and FTT holders. You know, might show some results though a lot sooner than later. I saw somebody asking some questions about derivatives on DXY. So, yeah, that's an alternative index. So you'd probably have to look to something like Invesco. But I thought that pulling this up and doing some research on this, I thought it was really interesting, and a good separate window to look at the DXY and its performance and how that might affect crypto. So you check out Invesco.com. Really interesting information here on the DXY, and you get some really good derivative market information here on the index, the DXY index. I want to share this with you guys because, as I mentioned earlier in this show and many times throughout other shows, that NFTs, you know, while it's mostly bound to art and community value, the potential for NFTs to bridge networks on a financial level is extremely exciting and enticing, and it could be very lucrative as well. We just don't know how and what NFTs will look like and what that will mean to or what kind of NFTs you'd be having to hold or buy. Although we do know on the art side, art is one of the few things that stands the test of time as far as value. And so this is something that I thought was really interesting, and you know, Raul Paul and his guest here, Balaji Srinivasan, extremely insightful. And I really liked this conversation that they had. And I thought this was a really good thing to share because this is often what I'm talking about. And this is at the underbelly of the value of NFT. And it shows you the scale that NFTs could achieve eventually.
But talk me through what the digital network state is. What is this new network state? How this idea has come and what it means.
Okay, so I have a short definition, which is a network state is a highly aligned online community with a capacity for collective action that crowdfunds territory around the world and eventually gains diplomatic recognition from pre-existing states.
Maybe I'm just jumping into the middle here.
Sure.
Why does it need a physical location? Because we've just assessed that it doesn't need it. I know humans quite like it, so they like get together. So like the crypto crowd, they love going to an event because they all get together and have physical proximity.
Yes, right. So why does it need that? Well, because it's the re-centralization part, right? We have these physical jurisdictions, and we have the fact that all our friends are just scattered all over the world. It would be a massive boon to be able to like re-centralize them in a physical community where we actually have root. Not San Francisco, where we do not have root, right? We didn't have root because basically like there's some, you know, like terrible mayor and political system and so on. We need a from scratch territory where we can re-centralize. And then guess what? The streets are paved with self-driving cars. Every street is built from the beginning for self-driving, for example. Or there's no streets and it's walkable. Or it's keto kosher and there's low carb, right? Like humans are still physical beings, and we can do a lot online, an amazing amount, right? The communication, a lot of the culture and stuff like that can be built online. But ultimately, to innovate in the physical world, to build like real, relationships and so on and so forth, you're going to need a physical community. And so that's a re-centralization part. That's why, now, to be clear, not every one of the societies that I describe needs a physical component. But the nth version of them, the most interesting versions of them do. It's just like not every company needs to like become, multi-billion person scale or go public and so on, right? But some of the most interesting ones have that level of ambition. Okay. And so what I propose and I, put out in the book is essentially a 7-step plan to go from a single person with a laptop to a state in the United Nations. As crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
So network state, the agency that NFTs can create, and I'd probably want to add to that is that you might want to start to look at things like Twitter and other social platforms as that physical location, not just advertising mediums. And I think that's really highlighted in the fact through things like nftinspect, which I've been mentioning, where you can verify assets and recognize each other on social media platforms that have massive amounts of people and traffic. You can span those spaces through a medium like nftinspect and immediately find the strength of the communities. You can turn these communities into actual demographics. And they go on to discuss things like AI, AI being demographic. And what they mean by that is AI, artificial intelligence, is basically it's a new person, right? And robots, computer with a body, whether the body is physical or virtual. So those are demographics now. And if you think about cloud and what the cloud is, it's becoming a universe, right? A universe of information. And we're creating new information on information every day. And all of that is being stored in the cloud, which is turning into its own universe. And computers can access that. We can access that. And how do we traverse this cloud network is through mediums. And one of those mediums are NFTs. And so if we take a look at nftinspect here, you've really turned NFTs into readable now and measurable demographic. A lot of people passing through Twitter, a lot of information being shared on Twitter, a lot of communities being established and destroyed on Twitter and other social media platforms. So how do you discover the best ones? How do you discover the worst ones? How do you discover others with like interests? How do you discover other networks, other markets? You have to have an agency. nftinspect and other platforms that will eventually pop up like it provide you the clarity to create these agencies. And agencies need to be filled with demographics. The ability of crypto to produce this network state is going to continue to grow. And I wanted to highlight here how on Handle, which is a Cardano platform, you can now personalize your handle, right? So it's sort of like an ADA handle, like .sol, .eth, but based on this platform handle, and you can customize it. And we just saw yesterday Life Wallet, where inside the wallet itself, you can have a chat system and you can sell and create usernames based with the @ sign. So @soldays, @str. I can send crypto using my call sign at something to @you, @Disney, @SoDead. I think these sorts of small developments are eventually going to be what's required to fulfill a lot of these necessities that would eventually look like fully fledged networks and social systems. And you can start to think of them like planets, like continents, like islands in the cloud network. All right, counting down to the halving. We still have a lot of 2022 left. The scale of institutions and the financial levels that they're on, showing interest and actually investing and funding crypto-based projects, crypto-based companies on both stock and public sides, constantly using crypto to make headlines. Nasdaq now, that slow burn will quickly turn into some max FOMO. Definitely listen in on that Raw Paul Balaji conversation. It's a long one, but it's really interesting. They definitely get into much more than just the definition of the network state. He goes on to explain it pretty heavily. And in a way, if you cross over that definition into NFTs and crypto, and you think of them as the way I like to, which is turning personal profiles into banks and banking systems and building financial products around your person, your persona. If you think about it, it really falls in line with the direction that we're headed with internet culture and now Web 2 versus Web 3 culture. All right. So let me know what you think. Like and subscribe to the channel. And if you got any NFTs or other crypto projects you want me to take a look at the charts, let me know. Drop a comment below. Thanks for watching. Trade safe. Have fun.